can't see the screen. This is Pat.
Hi, Pat. If you can contact the GoToMeeting help desk, there should be something there. There's a help thing. At this stage in the webinar, we really can't help you on that. I'm sorry. We will be sending the slides out no later than tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So, sorry.
All right. Okay.
Apologies. Okay. Like I said, good evening, everyone. We have there's about 20 or 25 slides we're going to go through. Since we just had Athletes on Snow just a few days ago, most of this stuff is going to be familiar. We're going to go over some things on that slide deck that are different for the games than we had for Athletes on Snow. So there will be some different information than what we did a month or so ago. Here's the agenda. As we go through this, I'm not going to read through every slide. I don't think this will take an hour, again, because I think we are rehashing information that everybody is fairly fresh in everyone's mind from having Athletes on Snow. So, again, I am Ron Freeman, along with Trish Miles, with venue directors for Snowshoe. I think Trish is on the line, so any question that I can't answer, hopefully she'll be able to add some input. Dave Gill, who is not at Athletes on Snow, but has been with Special Olympics Snowshoe Winter Games for years and years, much longer than I have, will be back for the games. He will be the announcer and coordinating the start line, and Ken McLaughlin will be coordinating the finish line, and Ken has been doing the finish line at Winter Games, I think, for the last 5 years. We now have the schedule up here. The schedule, is pretty small, and I apologize for that. Please pay attention to the snowshoe portion of the schedule. The Alpine, I took a schedule from several years ago, and the Alpine may have changed considerably. So you can get an understanding of where we hope to be in terms of what events are which days, when they'll start, when we hope that they'll end from this schedule. So only pay attention on this slide to what you see for Snowshoe. Here's a little bit more detailed information for, we have one for Monday and one for Tuesday. We will be marking the venue probably somewhere in that 9 to 11:30 time frame. We'll be marking the course. I believe we will be doing 5 lanes as opposed to 4 lanes that we did in time trials, so it makes it just a little bit longer. And we'll be doing boundaries a little bit more. So we'll be working pretty hard that Monday morning, but you're welcome to use the venue for practice as long as we have have the ability to get do the things that we need to do. And if I can remind everyone to mute their phones, hear a little bit of static in the background. Opening ceremonies, I believe this is still the right time. Opening ceremonies is 11 to 11:45 over at the main lodge.
That's correct, Ron.
Okay, good. Everyone for Snowshoe, if you've been over at the operations building before in the morning, when you go back for opening ceremony, please get your lunch at that time before the competition starts. And here's the schedule for the tentative schedule. I think we're fairly confident that these will be the races that we run from the days that we run them, and in this order. At the conclusion of the competition on Monday, we'll have a brief coaches meeting in the staging area. We have here 4 o'clock. I think that's a pretty good guesstimate of when our day will end on Monday. Here's the schedule for Tuesday. We will hopefully, depending on the weather, depending on conditions of the snow, we will be touching up the lane lines. Hopefully it's not as much for us to do on Tuesday morning. We'll be working hard to get that done in a good amount of time.
Ron, we're still getting some background noise from folks. I'm going to go ahead and, you dialed in the special code I gave you, right? I'm going to go ahead and put this in presentation mode because I'm having difficulty hearing Ron. So go ahead and
presentation mode is now enabled.
Everybody's line except mine, Ron's, and potentially Trish's is muted. We'll open up at the end for questions then, so please hold questions. I apologize, but because at least one or two folks did not mute their phones, it's really hard to hear Ron. So, Ron, back to you.
Okay. Up on the screen now, you should see the tentative schedule for Tuesday. We'll be over there, or at least I will be over there, probably at 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning. We'll get everything opened up. Generally, the whitetail folks are still touching up the course till about 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's probably at that time that you'll have some snow available for warm-ups and a little bit of practice time. But again, we'll be marking the course for the 50-meter race when we're marking the lane lines. And we do ask that everyone stay at the operations building and have lunch at the conclusion. If you still have events to run, please stay till the conclusion of Tuesday's events so that we're not waiting for folks who've gone over for an early lunch. Hopefully, we will start the relays on time. A little bit more difficult to stage the relays, but we've done a pretty good job in the last couple of years in getting those run efficiently. And we have a lot of good volunteers and management team back for the game. So hopefully we'll be done by around 12:15, 12:30, and everybody can go get lunch at that point. I'm not going to go over this slide. This is just a general indication of the number of athletes that we have this year. Compared to years in the past, you can, when you get the slide deck, if you want to, apply some spreadsheet formulas to this and see how we're doing. Generally, we're moving up in a small number of races, and we're moving upward at a slow pace. But generally, we're getting a few more athletes each year doing snowshoe. We have a picture of. Hopefully everybody's familiar with this because they were just at Whitetail 2 days ago. This is just a general overall, if you have folks who are coming for the very first time, family or friends to cheer on our athletes, and give an idea of where we are in relation to the other activities going on at Whitetail. Again, a picture of our snowshoe venue. I'm going to emphasize what I put in red on this slide about parking. We had a couple of incidents on Sunday of cars parked within the Whitetail operations area that were blocking some, I'm not sure what they were blocking, some gas fill-up areas or things that the operations folks needed to get to. So we're going to have signs out this year, but please, drop your athletes off and get your cars and vehicles back into this area that says snowshoe parking. I suspect, as it always is, we will have the Whitetail venue will be less populated on a Monday and Tuesday than it is on a Sunday. So parking should be a little bit easier. But again, bring your vehicles in for athlete drop-off only and chairs and things, and move your vehicles back out to the snowshoe parking area.
Ron, on that, just I apologize if it's later in the slides. I don't recall it there. The shuttle will be running from the lodge to the snowshoe venue throughout the day. We have confirmed the pickup will be in the small handicap parking lot, which is next to the lodge. Last year it had seemed to switch back and forth, but we have confirmed that's where it will be. It seems to be easier for folks to access it. You don't have to go down the stairs to the front. So that is an option to get back and forth, and they'll drop you off right at the Snowshoe venue.
Okay. Yeah, I don't believe there is another slide for that. So thank you. Again, this is just sort of not a caveat, but just please accommodate our Snowshoe management team as we mark the lanes and getting things set up for our athletes. But other than that, feel free to use the area to get everybody warmed up and ready to compete. Staging, we will have probably about 30% more space for the games than we had for time trials. We will have all of that third bay. We just use a small portion of it 2 days ago, and we'll have a little bit more room. We will move the indoor staging area a little bit closer to the start line, and again, we will have set up for outdoor staging as well. The flow will be the same as it was for athletes on snow and time trials weekend, but we'll have a little bit more room, so it won't be quite as congested, which is good because people will be hanging out there longer. It's a longer day, and athletes will be participating in probably in additional events. Again, we'll have chairs near the start line, in about the same place for the athletes to put their shoes on for staging, and we'll also have chairs set up near the bay door as they head back over to the awards. If it's something that's finishing around the 50-meter mark, 25-meter mark at the start line, we'll also have chairs at the 100-meter finish for those athletes as they go over to awards. We are going to mark a coaches area. There'll be significant marking differences for winter games, things that we don't do for time trials. With our coaches area, we'll have better line markings out of the course for spectators. So just be aware of different markings that we have out there. Awards, obviously different for the games than it is for time trials. They'll be presented as each division finishes. They'll be escorted over there by our escorts. The awards, when you get the slide deck and you go back to that little map, is in the same place it was for the last several years, the helipad near the operations building, sort of across the parking lot. Again, this year, we will be having a hospitality tent. I think, if I'm not wrong, we're having, that hospitality tent will be a little bit bigger this year, and you may be able to even stand up in it.
That is correct.
So no one should be going home with a hunched over back. That could be a slightly larger tent. So feel free, Debbie Credito will be over at the hospitality family area, hospitality tent, and use that as another location to hang out for a little bit if your athlete is not immediately ready for their next race. We don't run into this as much, this last point, as we do at the track, but if there is a situation where an athlete has races close to being back-to-back, skip the awards for the earlier event to get staged for the next event, and we'll catch up on the awards after. Rules highlights. Here's the dimensions of the actual snowshoes. We added a little bullet. There was a question at
Ron. Ron.
Yes.
You are offline again. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and advance to that slide and take over the screen, and you just walk me through. Okay, give me just a moment.
Okay.
I can take over and show my screen. Sorry, folks. A little technical glitch here. Okay. And again, everybody's phone is muted, so I know you can't chime in and tell us that, but let's see. There we go. So Ron, I am showing the,
Yep.
okay, so hopefully you can see that as well, but given that it's happened twice, we'll just stick with me clicking through, and you just tell me when to advance. I'm going to again.
The only additional item on this screen, it was brought up, actually it was brought up at, probably a month or two ago. We had a very young athlete who has exceptionally small feet. So an exception can be made on the size of a snowshoe for athletes who are younger or smaller, who physically can't get into the snowshoes according to this dimension. And there was a young athlete at this past games who was doing at the time trial season who fit under this exception. Unfortunately, it was her very first competition, and she was unable to complete the race. So it's not an issue, at least for that athlete, for Winter Games. But we do have a from Teresa Lynch provided a hyperlink, which I neglected to put in this slide deck, of companies that provide other snowshoes for at smaller sizes. So we will get that out for next year. But anyway, let's move on to the next slide. Self-evident, mass start. It says no lane for races greater than 100 meters. Obviously, if the lane lines are there, your athletes, although they won't be required to run in those lanes, they'll probably still see them. They're going to be starting at a specific spot at the start line, so they'll still see them. To command start, this is what we use at the time trials, racers ready and go. Obviously, the rule is the same. Athletes need to be still at the start line before the horn is blasted. Oh, I just clicked. Sorry, Mike. Next slide. More rules highlights. 2 false starts is DQ. I'm not going to read that. If an athlete moves, false start, you can all see that, or you'll get that slide. It's the same basic rules as we have for track and field. Next slide. Two-minute rule. We're going to have, we have such a large contingent of management team folks back this year for the games. We're going to have 1 or 2 folks throughout the distance between 100, 0 and 100 meters and out to the 200 meters, looking for infractions this year. Sometimes we're a little short-staffed and don't have a good set of eyes on the course, but this year we're going to try to be a little bit more official with the rules of snowshoe. The 2-minute rule: an athlete must progress 20 meters every 2 minutes in races 100 meters or longer, and an athlete needs to have their both snowshoes on and may not progress more than 3 meters without both snowshoes attached, and must complete, actually I think it's on the next slide, and must cross the finish line with both snowshoes attached to their feet. We had a close call at time trials, so just make sure your athletes' snowshoes are firmly or correctly attached when they're staged. Same as the track, the snowshoe is across the finish line when their torso is across the finish line, not the tips of their shoes. And again, they must be wearing both snowshoes. That's not very easy for me to say. Both snowshoes when crossing the finish line. Next slide. Relays. Relay exchange zone is 20 meters in length, and the baton must be paths within the exchange zone. The relays will be run, the same way as they have in the past several years on our course, and it's a little confusing if you're not used to the way we do relays. The 4x100 and the 4x200 will all start on. We'll start at the 50-meter mark and go back to the start line and back out to the 50, or back out to the 150 if it's the 4x2. But the idea, the reason we do the relays, the 4x2 and the 4x1 this way, is we don't exchange on a turn, and everything is on a straight line. We have and will paint a fly zone 10 meters for the 4x100. We haven't had a team use it yet, but feel free, if you've coached your athletes this way, we will have a fly zone for the 4x100. Next slide. Obviously, 4 competitors on a relay team, and each competitor must complete 1/4 of the distance. Unified teams, you can place your unified partners in any of the 4 legs. If you the preliminary run orders we would like to have by if you email to Mike, and you can copy me, by Thursday, February 18th. So that's however many days there is before the game, 4 days before the game. Run order for the 4x2. If you have any changes, or you want to give me your, I would like the final run order by 1:30 on Monday, so we can print those off. And for the 4x100, the final order by Monday at the coaches meeting. We asked for that a little bit early because we just had so many things to get done on Tuesday. We'd like to have those relay for Tuesday's relays on in as early as we can. I guess the same thing for the 4x4. We don't. I missed a point on this slide. Again, no changes after that unless there's a medical scratch. Next slide. Here's the rules highlights for the disqualifications. They're fairly self-explanatory. Properly overtaking or impeding another competitor. Again, we will have marshals on the course, and not every day on volunteers. We're going to have some instructions for all of our management team to go over all these rules. So everybody will be looking for these things that are indicated on these slides. Okay, next slide. Head coach, and only the head coach may file a protest. If you do have a protest, we'll have protest forms at the control table. You fill it out there and make sure you get it to me. I will rule on the protest as quickly as I can after I've talked to our course officials. Next. A little bit smaller font on this slide about coaching. The rules on coaching, and the things we look for in particular are pacing your athletes. We just can't have either the coach or anyone, fans, parents, whatever, pacing your athlete up and down the course. We sort of see that fairly obvious. There's other sort of things identified on the screen about coaching. I think that it applies a little bit more to alpine than it does for snowshoe. But please read these, and we'll be watching out for it. And generally we'll be following the consequences of coaching underneath. But we would most particularly be asking people to stop pacing if we see that. And we only had, I think, one incident of that at time trials. Next slide. A little bit early for us to get a forecast for the 22nd and 23rd of February. when my app, the farthest I can go out is 10 days. Hopefully we'll have good conditions, not too cold or windy, and certainly not too warm, so we have good snow. Just beware of the conditions so your athletes are dressed appropriately, and also, coaches and parents are dressed appropriately too. Even though this isn't really part of the weather slide, make sure your athlete stays hydrated. It's sometimes in cold weather you don't think you need to be hydrated as much, but you really do, because as your body is exercising and exerting a lot of energy, it's just as important to stay hydrated. Next slide. I mentioned this before. We'll have a family hospitality tent adjacent to awards. Spectator space, it's sort of limited if everybody is bunched up near the 50-meter mark, but there's a lot of 100-meter races where you can move further out on the course. We're sort of have a narrow space next to the building. We'll have a snow fence to sort of protect both the athletes and our spectators from falling into the building. But again, out to 100-meter mark, we'll probably be having 5 lanes. So it'll be a little tight, probably from 50-meter out to 75 or so. But beyond that, there'll be plenty of space to watch the races. And we'll probably have paths so you can go on the other side of the track, or other side of the course, and stand, as long as we have enough room, to watch the race from that side as well. Next slide. Wow, that is so small on my screen. If you have any adjustments to your events, originally I think it was said at the HRD meeting to have those in by tonight at 8 o'clock. That would have been, anyway, if you can get those into Mike by, is it midnight tomorrow, Mike, or 11 o'clock?
Yeah, we're this went out to all the head coaches with the updated roster that has had the results from the weekend. But by 11 o'clock on Wednesday. That said, we've probably gotten about 80% of the areas or the delegations sending in their corrections. So thank you to that. But the folks that were waiting to see those results to make their final decisions can have until Wednesday.
Okay. There's nothing new on this slide. It's sort of small. That wasn't said before, except for the dance theme, and you probably know this from the delegation meeting, but you probably did not have that little graphic, which I found on the interweb. It's a hoedown. Very excited about that. Nixle text alerts. Hopefully, everybody on this call has signed up for Nixle to get text messages about any games announcements, if there's some weather issues or any other type of issues. The way to sign up is up on the screen, and I certainly have used it, and it's gotten notifications for things that are going on with Special Olympics Maryland. So we certainly encourage everyone to sign up for Nixle. Closing date for the evaluation survey is March 25th. So a couple weeks, a month or so after the conclusion of the games. And the last point, please thank the Whitetail staff. They are so accommodating for anything that we ask. And if there's some comfort issue going on with the building on Monday or Tuesday, see me, and I'll talk to the Whitetail staff. If it's too hot because they have a heater blowing, or it's too cold, we'll try to make adjustments. If there's something, what I found in the last however many years we've been at Whitetail, if there's something that they can do to make it a better environment for our folks, they try like heck to get it done. So please thank them. They do a great job for us.
Please encourage your athletes as well. Ron has everyone there, and certainly family members, coaches, etc. But the athletes in particular, thanking them will have special meaning for them, and I know that they would truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Next slide, which may be the last one, I don't know. In case your snowshoers go over to Alpine, they can get a spectator walk pass. So there's a lift ticket for people who are walking the Alpine slopes. No charge for this. You can get it at the family hospitality. Does that mean Debbie will have it at her hospitality campsite?
She'll have a small supply, but at the Alpine Hospitality, they'll have a larger supply, which is up on the second level of the lodge. But Debbie at the Snowshoe Family Hospitality will have some as well.
Okay. Next slide. This is the one I was looking forward to. We're going to open it up in just a second for questions. You see on here all the contact information for your areas. Eastern Maryland is Nick Anderson, Central is Natalia Steffen, Western Maryland, Melissa Anger, Baltimore area, Courtney Brooks, along with their contact information. So if you have any questions related to winter games that we can't help you with at the end of this call, please contact your area director, or whatever their title is, regional sports director. Okay, next.
I think that's it. What I will do now is, if everybody, please keep your phone muted. I'm going to get out of presentation mode, and then, because again, we had to go into and basically block everybody out from speaking other than Ron and myself, and possibly Trish, but it looks like Trish was unable to join us, because some folks did not have the background noise. When I go out of presentation mode, the background noise can be an issue again, so please have your phones muted. We apologize that we couldn't have it as free-flowing as we typically do, but again, for whatever reason, one or two folks would not or had not muted their phones. So, let's see.
Presentation mode is now disabled.
Okay. So if you have a question, you can now unmute your phone and ask it, and then please mute your phone again after you ask your question.
I have a question about the 4x200 relay.
Sure.
Could you tell me where is the start and the handoff and the finish for the 4x200?
Sure. The start is at the 50-meter mark, and the athletes will run back towards the start line and make a turnaround there at the start. At that point, they will have run 50 meters. So they will then go from the 50-meter line back past, they'll go from the start line past the 50, past the 100, then halfway up the hill, there'll be an exchange zone at 150 meters. So the first athlete will be going back to the start for 50, and then straight out the course for another 150, and the first exchange zone is up the hill at 150 meters. The second athlete, the second leg, will start at 150 meters, and that athlete will go to the 200-meter mark, which is the turnaround, which is the end of our marking, and turn around there, and then that athlete will go from the 200-meter mark back to the 50-meter mark. So that will get that athlete 200 meters. So your first athlete, so your second leg will finish at the 50-meter mark. The third athlete will be doing the third leg will be doing the same thing as the first leg. So it'll be starting at 50 meters, back to the start, and completing it at 150 meters. And your final leg starts is the same as he or she will start at the 150-meter mark, go to the turnaround at 200 meters, and that athlete will do the last 150 meters back to the finish line, which is at the 50-meter mark. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I missed the 4x200 relay. Was that on the first? That was on Monday.
Yes, that'll be the last event. That'll be the last event and the only relay on Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? I think since everybody was just at time trials just no more than a couple days ago, everything is fresh in their mind. But if we don't have any other questions on the call here, feel free. My email address is at the tail end of the slide deck. Feel free to send an email to me. Actually, I should have added. I know Trish is on the line. Trish, if you want to add your contact information, I apologize for not putting that on the slide deck. But if it's something that either, if I can't answer, and I'll go to her, or if I can't answer, we'll get you an answer. We have plenty of time to get all of our questions resolved before the start of competition. And Mike, Trish is on the line, and she's heard everything.
Oh, okay. I did not see her on the webinar, so it's great that she's on the phone. So yeah, if there aren't any more questions, just a big thank you to everyone for helping make this past weekend such a huge success. And look forward to seeing you. These slides will come out no later than tomorrow morning, along with a link for the recording of the webinar, and then the event guide will be out no later than this weekend for folks that you can share. And that'll go out to all the delegation members as well. So thank you much. We look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. I guess last call for questions. Okay, hearing none. Thank you much. Have a great night.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.